We are on the site of the ancient city of Philadelphia. This was the sixth of the seven churches in the book of Revelation. Today, this is all that's left. It's the ruins of a Byzantine-era Christian church. It's in a busy urban area, so archaeologists have not yet excavated kind of the ancient Roman site, but the remains of the Christian church here are still pretty impressive. Jesus tells the church at Philadelphia that they can become like pillars in the house of God. And these giant pillars that remain here from an ancient church help us remember that.
3 centuries before this letter, the city of Philadelphia was actually founded as a missionary outpost, not for Christians, but for Greek culture, for Greek religion, Greek ideals, Greek philosophy. Because it's ideally located at the junction of the main north-south, east-west road. All the trade in the entire province of Asia Minor had to go through this town. And to the angel of the church in Philadelphia, write the words of the Holy One, the True One.
The people of Philadelphia, and not just the Christians, all the people felt betrayed by the Caesar Domitian. Domitian was one of the emperors who persecuted Christians, and he really became a tyrant for all of Rome. He's the one who had all of the vineyards in this area torn up, because he wanted the vineyards around Rome to be known as the best vineyards in the ancient world. And so instead of just letting these vineyards be, he tore them up completely because they had a good reputation, and he ruined the livelihood of all of the farmers in this area. And so not just the Christians, but even the Roman citizens in Philadelphia had a really hard time under the tyrant Domitian. Now, I think that's one of the reasons that Jesus calls himself the one who has the key of David. That means he has complete kingly control, the one who opens and no one will shut, who shuts and no one opens. In other words, he is the ruler who's really in control. And he says, I know your works. And by the way, how encouraging is that? Jesus knows your works. You may feel like, you know, nobody knows the suffering I'm going through, nobody knows the hard times I'm going through. Well, Jesus knows. And he goes on,
I know your works. Behold, I have set before you an open door, which no one is able to shut. And we'll get back to that in a minute. I know that you have but little power, and yet you've kept my word, and have not denied my name. Behold, I will make those of the synagogue of Satan, who say that they're Jews, and are not, but lie. Behold, I'll make them come and bow down before your feet, and they will learn that I have loved you.
Now, this was not an attack, I have to hasten to say, against Jews in general, not at all. This was a specific cultural situation that was happening here in the synagogue in Philadelphia. There were some people who were denouncing and slandering the Christian Jews, saying they are not real Jews. Now, why would they do that? The Jews were the only ethnic group in the Roman Empire that was exempted from worshiping the emperor. They were not persecuted for refusing to worship Caesar. And so as long as Christians were considered part of the synagogue, they could not be persecuted for refusing to worship the emperor. But there was a rift between Jews and Christian Jews, and they were denounced with slanders. Some people in the synagogue here and in a couple of other cities said that Christians were cannibals because the Christians claimed to eat the flesh and drink the blood of their leader. Of course, that was symbolic, referring to communion. But it made it sound like they were cannibals. And so some of the people who hated the Christians denounced them and kicked them out of the synagogue, and that's the unfortunate cultural situation that this verse is referring to.
Verse 10, because you have kept my word about patient endurance, I'll keep you from the hour of trial that is coming on the whole world to try those who dwell on the earth. I am coming soon. Hold fast what you have so that no one may seize your crown.
Now, one thing I want you to notice in these verses, and that's this: the church has always had it tough. You know, some people want to read the book of Revelation and they freak out and they want to, you know, get extra ammo and water bottles and canned goods and storm in the basement and hide their kids away because they think the apocalypse is happening right now. But the book of Revelation was written partly because Christians in all eras have experienced suffering. It's not just in the future that there will be a tribulation. It's always happened for some Christians in the world. It's happening for some Christians in the world. In fact, a lot of Christians very close to the site of this ancient church right now, today. And so we all need to hear this in every era. And Jesus goes on to say,
"To the one who conquers, I will make him a pillar in the temple of my God. Never shall he go out of it." Built directly over a seismic fault, Philadelphia was completely destroyed by a massive earthquake in 17 AD, and then it was shaken by almost daily aftershocks for 20 years. How do we know this? Well, the ancient historians talk about it. Like Strabo, writing right around the time of Christ, said, "Philadelphia has no trustworthy walls, but daily, in one direction or another, they keep tottering and falling apart." And I think that's why Jesus says, "The one who conquers, I will make him a pillar in the temple of my God." In a city of falling pillars, these people will not fall. "And I will write on him the name of my God, and the name of the city of my God, the New Jerusalem, which comes down from my God out of heaven, and my own new name." Why is Jesus writing these 3 tattoos, you could call them, on us? Well, he'll write on us the name of God because worship of the true God is where we find our strength. The name of the city of God because our hope is in the future day when the city of God comes to earth and heaven are one. And Jesus' own new name, he's saying that one day we shall see him as he is, the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, so our faith can be in him and not in some seemingly all-powerful Caesar. Verse 13, "He who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches."
And Jesus says this to the church in Philadelphia. This is an amazing statement for a small church that's really struggling. In Revelation 3:8, he says, "I have set before you an open door which no one is able to shut." And I think he's referring to the door of opportunity to reach their culture. And in fact, this little struggling church in Philadelphia did walk through that open door. Let me tell you just a little bit about this church in Philadelphia. It was known as a church planting church. The church that originated here in this city ended up sending out missionaries to the whole known world. They sent missionaries to North Africa, they sent missionaries to India. And how long did they keep walking through that door of opportunity? This was a strong church for 1,200 years. For 1,200 years, every time an earthquake would hit here, they would rebuild. For 1,200 years, they sent out missionaries. For 1,200 years, they stood strong. And that is God's vision for this church, and it's God's vision for our church too, that you and I, no matter what church you go to, can really feel as well. You know, we want our children and our children's children and our children's children's children for a century, 2 centuries, 1,200 years after us to know about the love of Jesus. And not only the people in our hometown, but we want to be a sending church. We want to walk right through the door of opportunity and go and reach our world. And I think Jesus is saying to you and to me as individuals and to us as people in local churches, see, I have set before you a door of opportunity. Now remember, he says this to the church at Philadelphia, which is struggling, which is being persecuted, which is poor. But he's trying to get them to reframe their situation, to look at their culture, their city, their situation in a new way. He's saying, yes, you're in the minority. Yes, you are struggling. Yes, people are mocking you and slandering you right now for being Christians. But he's saying, I want you to see this as a door of opportunity. Instead of just, I'm the persecuted minority, see this as, hey, everybody around me needs to hear about Jesus Christ. God has set before you and me doors of opportunity, even when things seem really tough. And so let's ask for vision to see those doors and for the courage to walk through those doors of opportunity. So my question to you is this. I'm sure that in some ways in your life, you're like this poor, struggling church in Philadelphia. Your life is going through some tough times right now. Where do you suppose Jesus is asking you to reframe that tough situation instead as a door of opportunity in your life?